everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, back once again with another edition of AEW Dynamite, but this time Thursday Night Dynamite, which has massively messed up our schedule, our usual Friday schedule at Cultaholic.com. So Tony, if you're listening, just be a bit less selfish next time, mate. But that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is how good was the show? Well, as you know, there's only one way to find out, and that's by assigning each individual segment a lovely individual grade. That's right, it's time for AEW Thursday Night Dynamite Graded. We start things off with the big tag team gauntlet, which I assumed was going to main event, but no, it starts the show, and two teams are in the ring, ready to go. We've got the Natural Nightmares, Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall, and we've got the Young Bucks. But before they can get underway, Chris Jericho makes his grand entrance. I think the reason that they delayed Jericho's entrance was because there are now quite a few fans in Daily's Place, and they really wanted to show off everybody chanting and everything, which I think was probably a smart move because the chants were quite impressive. It was quite refreshing to hear those chants again, just putting aside the idea of whether or not fans should actually be back at wrestling so soon. The match gets off to quite a quick start with all four guys, well, three of the four guys exchanging fast lucha rolls and sequences and everything, and then Dustin has a go and then feigns being tired. It is classic comedy like that I want from my professional wrestling. At one point, QT Marshall gets knocked out of the ring and lands at the feet of Ali, or as commentary call her, his apparent lady friend Ali. Have they not been together now for several months, at least, you know, in storyline, and everyone's acting like we don't really know what's going on? I feel like there was meant to be some kind of manipulation angle with Ali and QT, and it just never came to fruition. Eventually, the Bucks isolate QT Marshall and nail him with the BTE trigger. Basically like the V trigger, but a double version. It's the golden lovers finisher, actually, isn't it? Anyway, they win the match, and next up, we have the best friends. And obviously the fresher men dominate for a little while, but Nick tries to turn the tables with a terrifying deadlift German on Trent on the apron. It's worth mentioning that actually Trent was pretty excellent in this match. He looked like a house on fire, a proverbial house on fire, not a literal one at times. As if people are thinking, well, was he literally a house on fire, Jack? The best friends fight back and they hug each other, and then they get a near fall, then the Bucks get a near fall. The Bucks regain control of the match anyway. They set up for the Melter driver. Matt is on the apron, ready to go. And Hangman Page is on the outside, grabbing Matt's legs, stopping him from hitting the Melter driver, and back in the ring, Trent rolls up Nick for 3. And the Young Bucks are out, and it's all Hangman's fault. And Hangman sells this absolutely superbly. He looks very ashamed of himself for what he's done. He looks like he hasn't been sleeping. They've obviously put makeup on him to make like really dark rings under his eyes. The Bucks are furious at him and shocked, and he just turns and walks in very lonely fashion up the bleachers alone. And that's it, and yeah, absolutely superb. And finally, we get the last entrance in the gauntlet match, FTR, accompanied of course by Tully Blanchard, and they just start picking off the weakened Chuck Taylor, who has injured his knee or his leg at some point in the match. But Chuck fights bravely back. He kicks Dax Harwood off him at one point. He collides with Cash Wheeler on the apron and sends him flying. Dax rebounds into the ring and gets rolled up, and Rick Knox is just standing there and not administering the 3 count, and I don't know why. I'm assuming he thought there was a blind tag when they collided on the apron, but then he counts a 1, and I'm like, what are you doing, Rick Knox? Maybe the shoulders weren't down? I don't know, it's a strange one. But anyway, it is all kind of irrelevant in the end because Dax Harwood gets some kind of leg lock on Chuck Taylor. It looks a bit like a grapevine ankle lock, but I'm assuming he's twisting the knee as well. And Chuck Taylor is just forced to tap out, and that's it. A very straightforward win for FTR in the end, mainly thanks to Hangman Page. Ultimately, this gets an A grade from me overall. No parts of the match were spectacular, but I absolutely loved the booking. And the action was generally good as well, but I mean, the booking was just better than all of that and really made for an engrossing spectacle. Obviously, the main part of the booking that I enjoyed was the Hangman Page thing, but also I just absolutely can't wait for this FTR versus Hangman and Omega tag title match. It could be absolutely superb. Next up, we get a little mini Darby Allin video package of him just pricking about on a bridge and jumping off into the water. His mum must be so worried about him all of the time. Next up, singles action between Lance Archer, accompanied of course by Jake the Snake Roberts, and Sean Maluta, who I do remember from the Cruiserweight Classic. I did a bit of research, I googled who he faced in the Cruiserweight Classic. Turns out he was knocked out in round 1 to Kota Ibushi, so fair enough, Sean, you tried your best, mate. Maluta gets the jobber entrance, he's already in the ring. Lance Archer comes barreling down, of course, just decks somebody in the front row. Not one of the actual fans, they were up in the bleachers, of course. That would have been horrendous and a big lawsuit for Mr. Tony Khan. Then he gets in the ring and just clocks Sean Maluta before Maluta's name has even been announced. And also, I've mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. Lance Archer's theme music definitely goes, everybody dies and it's now or never. It turns into bloody Bon Jovi. Sorry everyone. Just a bit of a sing-song. I just apologise to the lads in the office there for breaking into something. No one cares. No one replied to me. I've got no friends. Of course, the match itself goes like this. Lance Archer just absolutely toys with Sean Maluta, nails him with a huge choke slam, and then pulls him up before the count of 3 to continue the punishment. We get the blackout, we get the big claw into the canvas, and that is enough eventually for the victory. Jake the Snake gets on the microphone afterwards and says, right, look, listen lads, there's a 21-man casino battle royale coming up at All Out, and this man's going to be in it, and of course, he is going to win it. And when he does win it, that will wipe that little blemish from our record. The blemish being the loss, of course, to Cody for the TNT Championship. And I like that he acknowledged that. He even said that one little mistake cost us so much time, which is a criticism that people have actually been saying online. Lance has fallen way down the card since that loss, but I like that they've addressed it as though it is a real thing in kayfabe. But before Jay can say too much, they're interrupted by Taz and his boys. And oh my god, it's going to be Cage versus Archer, Cage and Archer, Austin and Tyson. And similarly to Austin and Tyson, they never actually have a fight. There's just a lot of tension in the ring with both guys' managers trying to, calm them down. Taz is now trying to cut a promo. He tries to get like any word in edgeways, but Jake just keeps talking over him. And I'm like, come on, Jake. Yes, you are one of the greatest talkers in all of wrestling, but so is Taz, and I'd quite like to hear what he's got to say as well. Honestly, Jake the Snake must just be an absolute nightmare in improv class. But before anything more can happen, Darby Allin's music hits and he skates down the side of Daly's place like a pretty little creative skater, gets in the ring and just goes straight for Ricky Starks and beats him all the way to the back. Back in the ring, Archer and Cage still want to go at it, but Taz and Jake the Snake hold them off for now at least. This segment gets a C+ grade from me. It was just a standard squash match, and then the promo bit afterwards was a little bit awkward in parts, with Jake just talking over the top of Taz constantly. However, Darby's running and the beatdown of Ricky Starks kind of saved the day a little bit, so it's a C+ rather than a straight C grade. Next up, like Darby Allin's little video package from earlier, this is too short really to get a grade, but I thought it was worth mentioning. It's a little video package hyping Hikaru Shida versus Thunder Rosa. And basically there's a contract signing in what looks like a hotel where you can see the ensuite in the background. I might have to watch that back to make sure that's what it was, but it looked a bit like a toilet. Anyway, yeah, am I the only one thinking that Thunder Rosa is going to win this? I know that AEW were never shy about putting perceived outsiders over their main guys like Omega and Cody, as we've recently seen. But would they do that for a whole different promotion like the NWA? I think maybe they would. And also, of course, just watching this, man, Thunder Rosa is absolute money, and I kind of hope she does beat Hikaru Shida, because I just love to see more of her as AEW Women's Champion. Next up, so we've just obviously had that video package for the contract signing of the Women's World title match. Now we've got a segment for the contract signing of the Men's World title match between Jon Moxley and MJF. MJF is, of course, out with all of his entourage. He hobbles to the ring on a Zimmer frame now. I did Google what a Zimmer frame was, so the Americans out there knew what I was talking about, and you're never going to get what those crazy cats call it. They call it a walker. Makes more sense than our word. Moxley makes his entrance from the stands as commentary hype his placing at number 1 on the PWI 500. And Jericho is furious about this on commentary as well. He's like, well, where was I? And they're like, you were number 3. And he goes, who was number 2, Shivani? You? It was actually Adam Cole, but it was a decent guess because Tony's been really good this year. They both sit down at the table and MJF says, right, look, we've all seen contract signings in wrestling before. We know what happens, but I'm not an animal. And as much as I'd love to slap you, John, I'm not going to, because this should be a civilized, business-like affair. So, John, I'm asking you, in this contract signing, to practice social distancing, just like your hairline. Oh. Obviously, Moxley just laughs at this. He doesn't actually care because he's Jon Moxley. And he replies saying, you'll get there one day, kid, regarding MJF's hairline. He says, you'll get there one day. You just have to hit puberty first. Oh. But actually, the joke's on both of those guys, because I don't mean to brag, but I have a bad hairline and look like I haven't hit puberty yet. So, who's the winner here? MJF says, look, I'm going to win this match because I'm a wrestling prodigy and you are not a wrestler, Jon Moxley. You're a brawler, you're a street thug. You grew up idolizing guys like, he just starts throwing out names, The Sandman, New Jack, John Danzig, Atsushi Onita, all the references from MJF there. He seems quite well versed in his brawling, street fighting history of wrestling, despite apparently despising it. MJF says he grew up idolizing actual wrestlers like Buddy Rogers and Ernie Ladd and Tully Blanchard. And I really want more guys to come out and carry this on. I want like Nick Jackson or someone to come out and be like, and I idolized Rey Mysterio and Jushin Thunder Liger. And then I want Peter Avalon to come out and be like, I idolized jobbers like Tom Brandi and Barry Horowitz and Funaki. And I think that would be, I think that would have enhanced the segment a little bit. Just a disclaimer, I don't actually think that would have enhanced the segment. I think it would have made it seem like a musical, like they were all about to break into song about their favorite wrestlers. So actually, no, I do think it would have enhanced it, actually. MJF says, come on, Jon, sign the contract, or are you not man enough to beat me without the paradigm shift? And if you're not, then tell that hot little wife of yours that I'm single. Oh, MJ, I'm leaving. That is too far. I'm back. I'm contractually obliged to do this video. Anyway, Moxley says, look, I don't need the paradigm shift to beat you. I'd love to use it, but I'm happy to get creative and hurt you in as many ways as I can. And he also says, just before he signs it, remember two things, MJF. Nothing you say matters, and nothing I sign matters. You are a dead man still at All Out. Moxley signs it, MJF's team are just jubilant. They're all like, oh, he actually signed it, what an idiot, he can't use his finisher. Yes, we've done it, lads, we've done it. And then Moxley's like, yeah, pleasure doing business with you guys. One more thing, are you all right with that little bit I added on page 17 at the end? And they're all like, what? And MJF's lawyer checks it, and Moxley's like, that's right, I added a clause of my own. They panic and they read it because they've already signed it, so they don't know what they've signed now. And they have a look, and it turns out that next week, Moxley gets a match against MJF's lawyer. So, weird, but I get it. I get the storytelling there. Moxley leaves, and this segment gets an A- grade from me. I love the promo work from both guys. They're both obviously very, very top notch. At the same time, though, I'm not certain about the whole lawyer thing. I understand that it's classic old school wrestling storytelling where, you know, it's the cowardly non-wrestler, Weasley heel dude who has to go up against the big badass babyface, and everyone really wants to see it. I understand that. I just don't know if the lawyer is an established enough character at this point. I get that he's come across really quite well at being detestable, but I don't know if we've seen enough of him for this to really get me that excited. I don't know. Next up, 8-man tag team action. I'm just going to read them from my sheet. I have no shame. It's Eddie Kingston's stable. It's the Butcher, the Blade, and the Lucha Bros taking on Sonny Kiss, Joey Janela, Brian Pillman Jr., and Griff Garrison, the kind of jobber / enhancement guy who got absolutely torn apart by MJF a few weeks ago. This is not as one-sided a match as I thought it would be. I thought it would just be an absolute destruction party by the heels, but actually Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela kind of carry their team a little bit and are doing pretty well at some points. Eventually though, the heels manage to isolate Brian Pillman Jr. and hit him with just a devastating succession of brutal looking double team moves. Just one would have done, guys. Kingston gets in the ring on the mic afterwards, and obviously the fans are all like, Eddie, because he's great and we all love him, but he goes, I know my name, shut up. Kingston announces that all 5 of them are going to be in the Casino Battle Royale, and one of them is obviously going to win because they've got the numbers advantage. And I'm like, all 5 of them? That means that Kingston's in it as well. I know who I'm rooting for. This gets a B grade, good stuff, fast-paced fun, decent match, and I liked Eddie's promo afterwards. Next up, the Dark Order come out bearing a casket, dancing around with it. It's implied that Cody's in the casket, and they're all just so happy, those absolute pricks. Evil Uno cuts a promo saying what everyone spent the winnings on. He says that, this was weird, he says that Stu Grayson bought not 1 but 2 dream cars on his bucket list. Brodie Lee bought 6 lawnmowers, even though his property doesn't have grass. It's from a bit on Being the Elite that I saw recently, which I didn't get then. So I'm assuming it's a reference to something else that I just haven't seen at all. I didn't really get it. They open the casket. It's going to be Brodie in the casket, isn't it? Well, that's what I thought, but no, it's 10. He was just in there because he's playful, I guess. He's got Cody's neck tattoo drawn on him. The bloody scamp. What's he like? Brodie comes out high-fiving everyone. He gets in the ring. Schiavone comes in for an interview, and basically Brodie Lee says the open challenge is over. He also says that Cody is never, ever going to get that belt back. And then he brings out the newest member of the Dark Order. I'm like, who the hell is this going to be? They've got a new member. It's Anna Jay, who, come on, we already knew she was a member. Anna Jay gets in the ring and they act like she's not a member already, even though she's been hanging out with them for weeks now and helped them in their beatdown last week. I didn't like this. But anyway, Anna Jay gets in the ring. Brodie's like, it's our new member. Ooh, it's not. And he introduces her as Anna Jay, number 99, the Queen Slayer. John Silver is so excited. He gets on the mic. He's like, Mr. Brodie, you're the best way. And Brodie Lee just decks him. and then he has to like scamper back into line all dazed and knocked out. And it doesn't help Brodie Lee actually, because then they get jumped by a ragtag team of baby faces, yo. Here come Dustin and QT, the numbers are slightly too much for them, they get a little bit beaten down, but then here comes Scorpio Sky, sure, why not? He helps clear the ring as well, but then Anna Jay turns him around, slaps him in the face, and it's enough of a distraction at least for Brodie Lee to just nail him from behind, not like that. The brawl is still on, so immature. The brawl is still on, so Brodie and Anna Jay head for the hills while the rest of the lads all try and fight off the faces in the ring. It looks like it's going alright for them. Evil Uno has made his way up to the top of the ramp to the stage. He turns around and here comes Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, just flying out of the entrance ramp with a huge Rough Rider on him on the stage, and then Cardona gets in the ring and the baby faces finally manage to clear house. The faces stand tall in the ring, the heels glare at them from the stage, and this gets a B grade from me, but it should have been better. I just found it a little bit tedious, to be honest. There's just something about Brodie Lee's promos. I mean, he was amazing in the ring last week, don't get me wrong, but there's something about his promos, his character, that feels a bit raw and a bit unrefined to me, but not in a good way, more in like a we don't quite know what the character is yet way, or he's not delivering it correctly way. I don't know if anyone else gets this as well. I know that he's meant to be like a malevolent cult leader who's just as harsh to his own guys as he is his opponents, but it comes across to me very inconsistent and not that well written. I don't know. What do you think? I'd be interested to know what people think of this in the comments down below. Maybe it'll click as time goes on, I'm not sure. Right, on to the next segment. Oh, we're backstage and the Young Bucks are yelling at Hangman. Finally, all the tension has bubbled to the surface. This was too short to get a grade, but it was a key part of the story, so I'll talk about it anyway. Right, Matt just throws a drink in Hangman's face and says, "You're a drunk. This is all your problems. You're just a drunk." Nick calls him a jobber, and the Young Bucks kick him out of the Elite. And it's all finally boiled over, guys. I'm still on Hangman's side, because the Bucks have been really passive-aggressive to him for months and months and months, as has his own tag partner, Kenny Omega. I'm assuming that Kenny's going to shout at him next week as well. But I'm still on Hangman's side a little bit, because the Bucks going, "We're so upset what you've done. You're out of our special club." It just doesn't make me want to sympathise with them at all. Next up, we get the handicap match between Big Swole and the team of Reba/Rebel and Penelope Ford, who Britt Baker enlisted to help her out. Of course, if Big Swole wins the match, she gets a match with Britt Baker. Britt is just so confident that she's going to win, like so confident. And Big Swole wins so fast, man. So fast. It feels like they may have been running out of time a little bit, because the main event I'm going to talk about soon also seemed to go quite short. This match follows a classic handicap match sort of formula, with the heels trying to use the numbers advantage, the manager Kip Sabian on the outside, or the non-wrestler getting clocked. Well, he is a wrestler, what am I talking about? The non-wrestler in this match getting clocked on the outside when he tries to interfere. We've got Swole basically sometimes getting beaten down by the two heels and sometimes just running absolute rings around them. The match ends very suddenly, actually, as Big Swole just clocks Penelope Ford, gets the win, and Britt Baker can't believe this has happened. She can't believe that she beat both, not just Penelope Ford, but Reba as well, the most dangerous woman in all of wrestling. I don't know where that confidence came from, Britt. You were never going to win. This only gets a C- grade from me, unfortunately. It was a bit of a sloppy match, but storyline continues to happen on the outside as Anna Jay comes out to ringside and offers Tay Conti, who's in the crowd, formerly of NXT of course, a spot in the Dark Order. Ooh. And finally, the main event, Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara in a tables match. And yeah, this was kind of rushed, but it gave it a frantic feel, which I actually thought maybe accidentally helped it a little bit. Matt comes out hot, he's beating Sammy Guevara all around, he throws him into the crowd, he throws him back over, but Sammy vaults the guardrail, so Matt just picks up a chair and launches it at him, and Sammy ducks and it hits the ring post. Storytelling, history from earlier in their feud. I love it, I love wrestling. Yes. Sammy gets control, puts Matt on a table on the outside, gets in the ring, hits the ropes and dives and just misses and crashes and burns and comes up with a huge gash in the side of his head and he's bleeding all over. It's just big spot after big spot in this match, not a lot of time for selling, as Matt misses an elbow drop off the apron through a different table, but Sammy rolls out the way and Matt crashes and burns this time. Matt gets control back, they get in the ring, he hits that, he hit on Jeff Hardy at WrestleMania I think one year when they faced each other. He hits like a twist of fate in a chair, so Sammy goes like and lands on the seat part of the chair. Brilliant stuff. In fact, JR is so excited he calls it in the bowels of the chair, because chairs have bowels now. You heard it here first. Matt Hardy brings out a special table from under the ring with deleted written across it in red letters. Clearly this is the table that he's going to put Sammy Guevara through. He sets it up in the ring. There is a chair upright underneath the table and I'm so worried they don't know it's there, but I think they do. Matt gets on the top rope, he's too slow. Sammy gets up and nails a superplex through the table. Mercifully the chair underneath just folds the correct way and doesn't break anybody's spine. And Sammy Guevara has won the match. A bloodied Sami is the winner. Jericho goes wild on commentary celebrating, but not for too long, because Orange Cassidy just comes flying across the stage. The camera doesn't even really catch him to leap across the table, take out Jericho, and they brawl viciously to end the show as referees try and separate them. It gets an A- grade, this whole main event segment for me. The match was rushed, but entertaining enough to be probably like a B+ grade on its own. And then I've added on this wonderful, really real and raw looking brawl from Cassidy and Jericho at the end to give it an overall A- grade. On the whole, this week's Thursday Night Dynamite gets an A- grade from me. I thought it felt like a big show, and not everything on it was quality, but it felt like a go-home show really for All Out, and it's not even the go-home show, so I can't wait to see what they pull out when the go-home show comes around. Thanks very much for watching this video. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. What did you think of Dynamite? Let me know in the comments section down below. Stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.